looking for this?
Welcome back to BoomShot. I'm Carol, this is Colby, and we have just finished watching The Flash. And we have some thoughts about this movie, so spoiler warning if you haven't seen it yet, go watch the movie and come back and watch this video, and let's go ahead and jump into it, starting now. Okay, once again, spoiler warning, please go watch the movie first. Second of all, we're changing the way that we do movie reviews.
Oh, yeah.
So we just came up with this like 5 minutes ago. We have 10 categories that we're going to give a ranking, so like 8 out of 10 for this category. And what we're going to do is we're going to add them all up and take the average, and that's what our rating of the movie is going to be. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. So the first category is plot. Okay, and so this is just the general storyline of the movie. So what do you think about it?
I enjoyed it, man. I thought the plot was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, it starts off pretty quick. We jump right into the action, basically, after a few minutes. But it wasn't one of those things, and we'll get into that a little bit, where I was like so confused about what was going on, considering this movie was supposed to happen 7 years ago. I wasn't expecting the plot to be this good.
But like the general storyline of the movie was very clear. Barry wanted to go back in time to save his mom because he wanted to be with his mom. That was pretty much the general storyline of the movie. It was very clear. The way they executed it was well. They did it very well. I mean, what would you rank? Like, what would you give that out of 10?
I'd probably give it an 8.
Yeah, I would say 8 out of 10, and the whole numbers are going to be easier because it just makes our life easier.
We gotta do some math after this.
Yeah. Next up, we've got themes. Okay, so the themes are basically lessons given by the movie. Right. Here's what the movie's trying to communicate, and that's what movies are about. Right. They have a message hidden within. What are we supposed to take from this movie? We had a couple big themes in the movie. What was like your favorite theme?
I mean, really, I think the overarching theme was the loss. We even saw it with both of the Batman, and that was probably one of my favorite parts. Now that we're talking about this and breaking it down, it's how both of them were kind of like the loss makes you who you are.
Yeah,
you have to go on with your life, and Barry just doesn't want to accept it.
Yeah.
So I thought that theme in specific was really good.
I think Barry had to learn that too, and also learning that it's like you said, it's the hurt that makes you who you are, and how you get back up from it. Really, another big theme is letting go of the past too. Those two things kind of go like hand in hand because he was trying to like let go of the past, or he wasn't wanting to let go of the past because he didn't want. He wanted to get rid of the hurt that was there, and so I really appreciated like the themes of this movie because I mean. Things like that, they always hit like an emotional sweet spot for you.
Yeah.
Not really sweet spot, but they hit an emotional spot for you. So what would you give the themes out of 10?
I think like we were talking about, I think it was one of the highlights for me, especially wasn't in it much, but the mentorship of the Batman was pretty cool. I thought. I don't know. I'm thinking 8 or 9.
I'd probably give it a 9. I really liked what this movie explored, like the lessons it tried to give. So
we'll go with a 9.
Yeah. So right now we're at 17, 17 total. So next up we've got pacing. Okay. So was the movie too fast or too slow? Because for example, if a movie's too fast, you get lost. If a movie's too slow, you get bored. So where were you at with that?
I thought the pacing was good, man. Kind of like we were talking about with the plot a little bit, is that it went linearly, but the pacing is a little bit different in that parts of the movie can feel jarring. If part of it is really slow and then all of a sudden you're like in a ton of action. Yeah. And that didn't really happen.
Yeah, I would say it was really good. I didn't get lost anywhere. Which is very rare. Like for a multiverse movie, I feel like you're always getting lost and you're having to pick back up. But I didn't get lost anywhere. I thought from beginning to end, like it was like pacing also has to do with like how linear is it, how sequential is it, and it felt like every sequence, it felt like it was in a sequence. Like each thing built upon the thing previous. So I really did enjoy that. What would you rank? What would you give that? Rate that.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe an 8. Maybe like the only thing that was weird to me about this movie is probably because it was made at the time of the DCEU. Yeah. It was the very end of it. With the George Clooney stuff and all that. Yeah. And I wouldn't feel so odd about it if something else was going to happen, but this is it. So it is kind of weird. Yeah. I think for me it would have worked better if Barry's dad was freed,
Mm-hmm.
and the movie ended on a happy note.
I think an 8 out of 10 is good. So we're at a 25 total.
And I think, to me, something like what happened with George Clooney would be more of like a post-credit scene.
So next up, we've got the writing. So were the characters written well, and was the movie coherent? So what do you think?
Okay, so for the characters, this is really we're going to talk about the character, right?
Yeah.
I think the highlight character for me had to be Supergirl, dude.
Yeah.
I thought she was written very well, and I think her intro, when they saved her, and then she gets in the sun and then beats up on some people, I thought that was pretty cool.
What do you think about like Flash? You know, Barry Allen. How was he written?
Yeah, I think one thing, big writing choice they did with this is taking his powers away.
Yes.
And I think it worked. I think his character arc in this movie worked for me because with the theme of loss, he was dealing mostly with the loss of his mom and his dad too, but also his powers. Mm-hmm. So he really just kept taking loss after loss, and he had to deal with all of it.
Zod was written well too. I mean, he wasn't in the movie much.
I wish he would have been in it more because it was really cool to see Michael Shannon back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could have a little gripe with that. I wish we would have saw him more.
Long Hair Barry was written well. I'd say Keaton Batman. I really did enjoy Keaton Batman's character. And like the way that he's kind of like an older, you know, a little bit more. He like Batman is always super serious or whatever, but like I feel like the older Batman gets, the more I guess he's let go. Maybe just maybe just for this Batman. And so he's let go a little bit more. He's got a little bit more humor to him, and I really did enjoy that.
Who was your favorite? Was it Batfleck? Was he your favorite character?
Batfleck all day, dude. Justice for Batfleck.
I think he was written very well for the limited amount of time he was in it. If he would have been the one instead of George Clooney, and they just, you know, because they were talking about earlier, they could have got dinner sometime.
Yeah.
The three of them could have gotten dinner, like Batfleck, Barry, and his dad.
Dude, it'd be
and that's how the movie ends. I thought that would have been cool.
I feel like overall the characters were written really well. I had a little bit of a gripe with the like way that Flash was written, because he seemed not necessarily like with him losing his powers, but he seemed a little bit like more nervous-y. Like I feel like Flash is typically like a wisecracking character, and I could have that wrong, but he seemed a little bit like nervous on camera, and that's okay if that's what they were going for. It just didn't hit with me. You know what I'm saying?
I think maybe they were going for awkward.
Yeah.
And it turned out nervous.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a difference.
What would you rank what would you rate the writing?
I'd say maybe a 7. I think, and it's hard. The writing for this took place. You know, they had to adjust some things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I think the main gripe again would be the ending. I think if that would have been written differently, where Batfleck was there and they had that dinner like he foreshadowed earlier, I would have been very satisfied with that.
So next up is acting. Did the actors perform well? We can breeze through this one, I think, because I think Sasha Calle as Supergirl did amazing. Obviously you have Ezra Miller as the Flash.
I think the highlight for me though again was Sasha Calle.
Or Keaton or Batfleck.
Yeah.
Who all of the actors in this movie I thought did really well. Acting, what would you rate it out of 10?
An 8.
I would say an 8 too. So we're at 40 through 5 categories, okay? So the Flash is tracking well right now. Next up, we've got action or conflict. So depending on the movie, that'll change. This one would be action. So and the way that we thought about this is choreography or tension. So like, tension. Could you feel the tension of every action sequence? Did you feel like there was a stake? There was something at stake? And then choreography-wise, did you feel like it was well executed?
I did, man. I think the tension was there, especially when the babies are falling out of the building.
Yeah.
That's probably where I felt the most tension.
Yeah, and I remember I was like, man, he might kill a bunch of babies on screen, dude.
I know. I like that's like a really heavy thing to watch. And then any moment with Batman I thought was cool. And then some of the Flash scenes I thought were kind of innovative, which we'll get to a little bit with.
I would say, I definitely felt tension, especially with Batfleck as he's fallen off the bridge, if you remember, and he uses his grappling hook thing, and he's about to drop the dude and the virus into the water, and then he gets saved. So like, I did feel the tension there, and I also felt like it was well choreographed. But I mean, it could have been better. So I think I'd give it like what? What do you think? 7, 8, maybe?
Yeah, I think maybe like a 7. With all the big characters in this, you have Batman, you have Supergirl, the Flash. The action was good.
Yeah.
But I think the ceiling for the action with all those characters is so high.
And there wasn't really a lot of action in this movie, I would say. Like there's a big action sequence at the beginning, the end, and there's like a couple Keaton Batman sequences that we see in there, but there wasn't a ton of action.
And I think that what brings it to a 7 is the very end.
Yeah.
There wasn't much Zod action.
No,
he didn't
not
really
enough.
do anything.
That's true.
I mean, and I think Supergirl, she could have had a bunch more scenes doing cool stuff. Hopefully, she'll come back in the future. But
so next up, we've got humor and dialogue. So did the jokes land? Were there too many jokes? Or like dialogue wise, did you feel like it was fluent, vivid, not cheesy? What do you think about that?
The humor landed for me, actually.
It did.
I thought there was a lot of funny moments in this where I was literally laughing out loud. And
one time you slapped your knee, dude.
Dude, that was a knee slapper.
Yeah.
I can't even remember exactly what moment it was. But
so there was a lot of good humorous moments, and there weren't many jokes. I feel like it was, I don't know how to describe it, but like
it's just that type of humor that's just funny, man. Like self-aware.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. It's like self-aware humor. I thought that landed. What did you think about the dialogue? Did you feel like it was good?
I think it was solid. It wasn't a highlight specifically for me in this movie.
But bad dialogue can really ruin a movie. Though.
Yeah, so it wasn't anything that took me out of the movie.
Yeah.
I think, again, I'm in like that 8.
Yeah, I would say about 8 category. So I think we're at 55 right now, if I'm doing counting correct. So next up, we've got score. And I just want to add this quote from good old Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer once said that he didn't write music to tell you what to feel, only that it was time to feel. So, what'd you think? What'd you think about the score? I thought it was I thought it was average. I didn't think it was great.
Yeah, I think the standard for scores and music in movies these days is pretty high.
It is.
And to me, this didn't have something like a Top Gun or even like the Batman theme or the Miguel theme from Across the Spider-Verse, which I love. It didn't have anything that stuck out to me as of now.
Score, I would probably just give it like a 6 out of 10. So. Yeah. Which puts us at 61. So next up, we've got visual quality. This one's tough. And whenever the movie didn't have CGI, it was good.
Yeah.
But
and I thought the Batcave looked pretty good. I thought that was cool. A lot of the Batman stuff in general, but I think the worst parts of the CGI was
the final battle.
The final battle and some of the Flash moments in Super Speed were weird.
Yeah. But then, one thing that we agreed on that was kind of intentional was the Chrono Bowl.
Yeah.
And when Flash goes back in time using the Speed Force, I really did like the way that they did that. But it wasn't the best. It definitely was not the best. Yeah, I think, what would you give it? Based on that final battle alone, I'd probably give it like a 6 out of 10 or 5 out of 10. It wasn't great.
6.
So 6 out of 10, that puts us at 67. So innovation. So the way that we've thought about this is, did the movie do something new? Not necessarily did it have a different type of plot, but did it do something new with the character that fell within the lines of, comics and things like that? Was it innovative?
Yeah, there wasn't really any groundbreaking moments. We've seen a lot of takes on the multiverse. But I think a slight innovation was how they explained it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, the whole spaghetti example.
Yeah.
So, they actually kind of took a dig on Endgame there for a minute because they were like, Keaton's Batman using 2 spaghetti strands. And he's like, most people think about multiverse as 2 spaghetti strands running side by side, and then it creates a branch timeline whenever you do break an event. But he's like, no, instead, it just creates a whole different spaghetti strand, and they share an intersection. I would say that was a good innovation. Also, you said, the phasing. The phasing was a good innovation.
That's something I've never really... I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That's something I've never really seen explored in a superhero movie as far... I mean, at least in this type of depth. They really showed it at the molecular and atomic level, I reckon.
Yeah.
When they went through the door. And they used it a ton in the movie. And that was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, it wasn't like a gimmick. It was consistently used in the movie. I did appreciate that. So the last thing I thought was innovative and different was that he lost his powers. Barry lost his powers, but instead of we've seen that before with Thor, but Thor had to walk this journey of becoming humble, whereas Barry he lost his powers, but it wasn't because of anything like that. It just lost his powers, and he became a coach to the new Barry. I thought that was cool. We got to see a Flash's origin story through our main Flash.
Yeah.
Except he wasn't the Flash; he was coaching. So, what do you rank that?
I'd say since it didn't have anything like really, really groundbreaking, as far as like the whole movie was based on an innovative idea, I'd say like an 8.
Yeah, I think an 8.
I think it had some cool aspects.
Yeah, for sure. So that puts us at 75 out of 100. So divide by 10, you get 7.5 out of 10. So I would say that's pretty accurate. We originally said 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
So, but now we can actually gauge it using actual measurements.
Yeah, I would agree. And looking back on it, when we looked at the visual quality, and then the score is something I didn't really factor in. Yeah. Not that it was bad or anything.
It just wasn't. It wasn't groundbreaking. Like it was just like, normal.
For instance, the score for that movie I thought was awesome. Anytime Miguel was on screen,
yeah, or like Loki's score was really good. For example, like, or I can think of for score from Guardians of the Galaxy, great. Score from The Punisher, great. Like I can think of specific moments in those movies where I'm like, dude, the score, like the music hit different. But this movie was just like, it's okay. So, but that's our official ranking or rating. It's 7.5 out of 10. Let us know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.